Welcome to Vets to PM's Military Transition Academy podcast, the show where we discuss how to succeed in transitioning from the military service to the civilian workforce. This show and the academy it represents helps veterans transition into meaningful, lucrative post-service careers. Your primary host is Eric Doc Wright, PhD, certified manager, military veteran, serial founder, best-selling business author, philosopher, linguist, and coach. Your other host is Jeremy Burdick, project management professional, scrum master, product owner, and retired Air Force chief, and the current COO of Vets to PM and the Professional Development Unit University, where we will interview veterans successful in corporate America and business to bring you nuggets of wisdom every episode to make you more successful. Next, let's introduce today's guest. Our guest today is Nathan Wilson, the National Account Executive for Altimeter Solutions and a Marine veteran. He's working out of Tampa Bay, but found some time to come over to the Sun Coast, where he is in Vets to PM's headquarters at Indialantic, Florida. Altimeter Solutions is a technical consulting firm that specializes in providing its clients the highest quality analytical and technical consultative services possible, while making it their mission to provide clients with proven professional solutions and services that represent the uppermost levels of industry, technical competencies, and value. Count on them to reduce your operational costs, increase your operational efficiencies, and boost work productivity by finding the very best talent there is out there. Talk to us a little bit about your company, Nathan.
Yeah, definitely. Greatly appreciate y'all having me on today. So our company, Altimeter Solutions, we primarily focus in three different areas supporting the defense industry. The defense sector is really where our bread and butter is. And we have a team that focuses on, we'll say, staffing through some of the large government subcontract companies. So we put people on contracts. These people eventually will transition over or convert over to a direct permanent employee of that company. We also have a team that focuses on directly working with those companies and putting people in positions with them. So direct permanent placement. And then we got another team that's focused on some subcontracting, where we're working directly on these defense contracts. So we're brought in either as a teaming partner or a subcontractor ourselves. So we're pretty much focusing on these three different areas. Then we have a sister company too, Higher Virgins. They're on the commercial side of it, but we share office, and they have a big focus on cybersecurity. So their background is there, and they support a lot of that kind of stuff. So we always work together and try to support different business at the same time.
Well, that's cool.
So so Nate, for you, one comment, and then for the listeners, and then just a fascinating question, and the audience already knows what I'm going to ask, as sure does Jeremy. He's already grinning at me. So, one of the things that Nate and I were talking about this morning that they really dig is, the DoD Skill Bridge program has not only revolutionized our business at Vets to PM and our Military Transition Academy, but it's really helped us put our small to mid companies, especially in defense contract land, just on rails, right? We do all the overhead, we do the management, and we get them the talent they want, and they get test drives, and we decrease hiring risk, and we increase, cultural fit, job satisfaction. So it's just been an absolutely amazing thing. So I just always, whenever we mention DoD Skill Bridge, man, Forrest Kuhn, my Navy buddy, and his entire team over at DoD, the program office running that thing, man, and the retired colonel they work for. I mean, just what an awesome program. And what a cool thing that, guys like when we got out, that just wasn't around, right? So my hat's off to DOD and, Congress for getting them to help them do that and having that foresight. So with that said, though, so we basically, become their program office, so to speak. But with that said, it always fascinates me, Nate, like that inflection point between how did you go from Marine or Navy welder or whatever to like a guy that's literally helping Altimeter grow its entire commercial side of its business, man? How did you kind of just tell us 3-4 minutes about that transition?
Yeah, I'd say, so first and foremost, being a Marine veteran myself, I love putting veterans to work, right?
Good.
But it's not always so simple. It's not always so easy. So having the Skill Bridge program to kind of help get over some of those initial hurdles and the timing of things. And like you said, people are coming out and they're unsure what they're going to do. And this is like kind of a no risk, or to get them in front of a job that they might not have been fully, open to or knowledgeable of,
Right.
as well as a company or client saying, hey, we don't know what that MOS is. We don't know what skills are transferable, but through the Skill Bridge program, we can take a shot. So it's definitely been beneficial in that aspect. And so for us, for I guess personally, coming out of the military, I was in that same boat. What do I want to do? So I was a 3533 in the Marine Corps. That's a truck driver, glorified truck driver. That's what I did. So unless I wanted to be a truck driver, I didn't know what I was going to do. Luckily, I was with who now is my wife, who kind of told me what to do. Said, hey, why don't you go to school? And you're going to get to see what's out there and stuff. So education, first and foremost, is so beneficial to anybody.
So it's a big networking environment.
Yeah, you get to learn. I got my hands in so many different pots through school and then coming out of school as well. And then I also said, you know what? I want to continue to just prepare myself. So while I'm looking at different jobs and what things I might be interested in, I went and got my MBA. And do I need my MBA to do my job? No. Does it make me better? Yes. Right? Any certifications? Do I need it for my job? Probably not. But does it make me more knowledgeable? Yes. Makes me better at what I do. So, I took the education and the knowledge, used that to support myself in my transition, right, from the military into the civilian workforce. And then luckily enough, when I got hired onto my company, they gave me the opportunity to focus on the defense sector, the government industry, and build Altimeter Solutions. So 1 hour after the next hour, putting all this time and invested into the company, into what I was doing, my job, being the best I could be at what I do, allowed the company to grow. And then from there, we've been able to exponentially grow Altimeter Solutions to where we are working with some of the largest government subcontract companies in the world.
During COVID.
During
this is COVID, mind you.
Yeah. During the initial part of the pandemic was probably the height of our growth period.
So gang, for those of you that aren't watching the podcast, you're just listening. I want to stop for a second. I want to reiterate something Nate said. I was a truck driver. And all of you that follow us know this, if that's the PM. I'll argue with anybody that wants to poke me in the chest digitally about, oh, you were this military occupation, or you were this AFSC, or you were this or this. You can't possibly go do something technical. You can't possibly bullshit. So earmuff the kindergarten kids. I mean, we've seen it time after time, man. My tenacity, my ability to adapt quickly, my technical aptitude, my ability to accept responsibility and accountability and get the new mission done. You went from truck driver to taught yourself the language of business, which is management, right? Get the book, How to Speak Civilian Fluently. And then that's what Nate said. I mean, he's now directly supporting a group of 3 executives, the founders of the company, on growing an entire half of their business. And I love it. He said, yeah, I took them a business case. I put some quantified numbers in there. I put some goals and expectations in there. And I confidently stepped up and accepted responsibility and accountability for what happened or what did not happen. That's very definition of leadership in any military FM you look at. And look at what he's done, right? And if he'd have just talked truck driver, he and corporate America, Altimeter Solutions in this example specifically, would have just been missing out on such a huge impact, dude.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and say, I mean, you look at it this way, and it doesn't matter what branch you're coming out of, right? But if you can then, well, look at it this way. You went into that MOS, whatever it was, with whatever branch you're in, you didn't know that stuff when you started, right? You learned it. So if you're capable of learning that initially, there's no reason you can't go from that and learn something else. And it doesn't matter if it's more technical. I didn't technically know how to, drive a truck. I didn't, people didn't technically know how to fix radios and comms and stuff like that. Well, if you didn't technically know how to do that, why can't you turn around and learn something that you don't technically know now?
Amen, brother. Amen.
Right?
JB,
Yeah.
What do you think? All that's good stuff.
I love it. I think you really hit a couple points too, is when you started off with hurdles, right? And then you saw them as challenges. And then you said, okay, I didn't actually use my MBA, but it made me better. I didn't actually use the certification per se, but it made me better. So it wasn't the certification or the degree that really opened the door. It was you that opened the door using the skills and knowledge that you've obtained along the way. And I really like that you say, hey, you don't have to technically know it. You didn't technically know anything the day before you learned it. So get out there, learn the skill that you want to learn, and be the person you want to be. So I thought that was really resounding. So thank you for sharing that.
In the networking part, because you'll hear on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, network, and ask questions, and, do informational interviews. And those are all extremely important things to do. I mean, Nate was talking about informational interviews, at SkillBridge and stuff. But I go back to one of the things I firmly believe at Vets to PM, and it's the reason I wrote the book, is you have to be able to articulate. You have to know how to use the words in the questions to ask appropriate questions. So Nate, if you and I are in an interview, brother, and it doesn't matter what my specialty was, my occupation, if you say P&L in an interview, or you say, hey, you're going to help our client with JIT management. Okay, what he just said, for those of you that haven't read the book yet, is my job that Nate is hiring me for, because he knows what my intangibles are. We wore the same cloth, yeah? He knows what he's hiring me for. He knows what I'm capable of, my top end. But he's going to deploy me to the client site so I can help them manage their just-in-time inventory system to control expenses on their profit and loss statement. And if I know that going in, and Nate knows I know that going in, Nate knows, like, hey, dude's got context or gal's got context, I can deploy him forward, i.e. put him on a client site and start billing for him. And we get good stuff done, right? So that's what I think the education piece does for you. I don't care what field you go into. I don't care whether you go in a for-profit, nonprofit. I don't care if you go in a startup with 3 dudes in a garage, or 1,000 people at USAA mothership headquarters, or whatever. You have to be able to speak the rudimentary business terms. That's not a floor, it's a deck. That's not a wall, it's a bulkhead. That's not a ceiling, it's an overhead. Okay, so once you get all that stuff programmed into you, man, they don't call it heads and latrines and bulkheads anymore in the civil. So you got to kind of learn the new language, customs, courtesies of how do I behave going back in, right? So Nate, with all of that said, dude, so if they learn the language, they've already got a leg up. It makes them more adept in informational interviews and stuff. So what are some of the kind of, I don't know, 3 to 5 things that you're looking for in folks that, hey, I can train you in the technical stuff, but you got to bring these to the fight so I can put you on a field right away? What's some stuff you look for, knowing your world is, hey man, you either got it done or you didn't get it done, right? Because a client will call and complain and then we lost the contract.
Yeah, I'll say one of the things that I probably see lacking the most from people transitioning is quantification of their skills, right? So you hit it on the nail, right? You hit it on the head of the nail, where you're saying what they're calling things, right? So the communicating of what they did, right? It's funny because we would say the nomenclature, and still that alone, nobody knows what nomenclature is, right? So we're talking about that kind of stuff. So you have that, but then you got to back that up with numbers, right? So quantifying things. And even when people add numbers to it, they're transitioning out, they're like, oh yeah, 5 platoons, or 2 units. Well, nobody in the civilian world knows what a platoon's made out of. How many people is that, right? How many these units, what's the value behind those units? You're managing all the, let's say, warehouse materials, right? What's the value of all this stuff? So those are 2 things right there alone that if they don't get transferred over, and this isn't just for people coming out of the military, this is for anybody, right? In their resume, in their interview, I have to be able to talk to this, but we're really missing out on that when people are coming out of the military. They don't know how to translate that stuff, right?
So the bullet on my EPR and my OER was whatever. It's like, I had responsibility for a $15 million property handbook. And the civilian interviewer's like, so like, what does that mean? And what you really want to say is, hey, I had responsibility and accountability for $15 million in scarce organizational assets, managing those and the associated budgets, and leading the allocation and consumption of those scarce resources to accomplish business objectives efficiently and effectively. You said the same thing, but one is in the language of management, and the other, the former, not the latter, is in the language of military leadership. And the person across the table just doesn't know what any of that means. No, and they're not going to figure it out either. If you talk like that, if you say retrograde, the words we use, when you say that, they don't know what you meant. Here's what they do know. Oh, this interview was going great, but Nate just said retrograde, or Nate just said nomenclature. I bet dude's a veteran. Okay, so I bet he's going to say other stuff I don't relate to. Okay, the interview's probably over. They probably checked out.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Regardless of how much more time expires off the clock.
Yep.
Right. And it's not fair necessarily, but that's a whole different argument. The responsibility and the onus is on the vet, period.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to, so you're translating that, right? You want to be able to communicate that efficiently and effectively. And you mentioned there's more to just quantifying. It's in support of what, right? It's so funny. I go back to like when I was in elementary school, and it's like the who, what, when, where, why, how.
Yeah.
But like that stuff matters. That's what you got to paint a picture. Like you don't take a stroke with your artist brush and only do the background, and you don't paint the full picture. People are gonna not know what you're talking about. So you got to tell them every piece of it. Who did you do it for? Why did you do it? When did you do it? What did it support? Give them the full picture, and that's going to be what gets them excited.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot, brother, but knowing that you know business now and just the language, I mean, let's illustrate what this means, because it's oftentimes people say, oh, dude, you're just playing word games. Like we're playing Scrabble or something, like you're just swapping tiles. No, I'm not really. Okay. I just know how to call things in civilian words instead of military words, like IMTO and property book and whatever. So let's do a live experiment magic trick for the folks at home and or watching. Okay, so I'm just going to tap into Nate's business sense and knowing what he knows about veterans and their capability, because that's really what you're marrying up. How do I describe my capability in terms of value that the company will value and therefore hire me for? As long as the V in the hiring equation, V is greater than or less than S for salary, as long as the V is bigger than the S, you win all day long, right? Okay, so if I come to you and you see my resume, Nate, and it says, I was the platoon sergeant in XYZ mission, let's say a retrograde project, right? What business value, now that you know both sides, hey, I know how to speak both languages, how would you say, hey, this is how you need to take that one statement and you need to put it in a couple sentences in quantified value and impact using the who, what, where, when, why kindergarten style? Like, how would you translate that into a bullet that's much more impactful than I was a platoon sergeant during X retrograde?
Yeah. So first off, you would break it down, right? Let's start with who were you? I mean, it's the who, what, when, where, why, right? Who are you working with at the time? And too many times I see people say, I was with, they'll say this platoon, this regiment, this, whatever, this unit. And it's like, that means nothing to anybody. Nobody cares. I mean, honestly, what I would want to see on a resume or the clients, the managers, they just want to see U.S. Army or, U.S. Navy. They don't need everything else. And they want to know where you were. But when it comes to that bullet, it's, hey, I was doing this job, platoon sergeant. You can even take platoon sergeant out of there. And if you want, you can put manager, right? Managing 30 Marines who were supporting the transition from this location to this location, point A, point B of, $1.2 million in technical communication assets that were in support of and then you could go into maybe what the end task was, right? Maybe it was setting up of a new mobile unit, right? So that right there might support the job that they're going into as well. They're looking at some kind of mobile communication, type of role, field technician type of role. And then you can add the value to that, right? We added the $1.2 million. You can also say what the result was. This resulted in, and it could be anything from reduce of risk because of the way you did it. It could be the reduce of cost.
Yep.
It just depends on your specific, position during that time and that certain role that you were in. But I mean, you really got to break it down to things that I guess are, and it's kind of hard to do for someone who's never done it before, but that are not just what you and your brothers and sisters that are in the military are seeing. It's what that person doesn't know.
Yep. And
so I understand it can be difficult, and there's a lot of people that can help you out with that kind of stuff. But it's as long as you're working on breaking down all the details, make that bullet point as long as you can. I see too many bullet points that are just five words long, and they can't even guess at what you did, platoon sergeant.
But Nate,
good for you.
But Nate, we're taught brevity. A. And we're taught, don't talk about yourself, knucklehead, talk about your team. So we're taught those two things. And the longer you're in, the more ingrained or entrenched that those conditions become. And then when you get out, and Nate's asking me to tell him about what I did and what impact I made, he doesn't want to hear a brief sentence about what my team did. Because look, listen, everybody, here's a door prize for you. When Nate's interviewing somebody, when Jeremy's interviewing somebody, when I'm interviewing somebody, it's a given. I know he directed a team. I know the team accomplished the mission, i.e. did the work. I'm asking you about what was your role as the catalyst in securing resources and planning the work and getting it done. And right, we know that you had a team. Tell us about what you did, and you got to tell us about what you did in terms of outcomes and value and impact, not be brief with a sentence. Because if I don't sense the value and somebody else comes in and tells me in a sentence what they did and they're more articulate, if I don't hire you, even though you feel like you were qualified, that's not on me.
No, and
you didn't tell me.
A lot of people want to hire veterans, like they want to, but if they don't know what value you're bringing and they can't translate what you, so it's fine if you can't translate what you did, but give them as much information as possible to let them try to figure out what you did, right? Let them try to translate it for you. But, you can't just give them, 5 words. I supervised 30 people. That's great. That's great. But in doing what? And, and what did you do to supervise them? Like, what was your detailed jobs day to day? What did you do? And if you can at least give that information, that person that wants to hire a veteran, they like you, they can at least try to figure it out themselves at the very least, right?
Yeah.
If you can't do it for them, at least they'll try to do it for you.
So, while we're talking about the business aspect, like, you fitting into this new workforce, and look, a lot of times, I oversimplify. So, I know that there's all the loyalty and commitment and honor and courage and all those, watchwords that were built into us in uniform. But when you take that stuff off, this is the civ div, man. It's a workforce, just like it's a military workforce. It's about getting paid to do something and producing results and collecting a paycheck and, getting mission done, saving time, making money, whatever. So tell me about, let's give the guys and gals listening and or watching, let's give them a sense of, what does it look like when they go to the client site? What that really means is you're going to the field, gang, or you're going to the job site. But when you hear client site or you hear billable hours, what Nate is saying is, hey, I'm going to hire you and I'm going to put you on a client job site. I'm going to manage the relationship at a high level, but you're going to manage the technical doing of the stuff that's in the contractual terms and conditions that we get paid for. Yeah. So tell us what it's like a day in the life of, so the guys and gals have some context.
So what's great for, someone who's transitioning out, we'll say, especially, is that it's almost like someone's holding their hand when they go to work for the first time on the civilian sector, right? So even if you're working with the government and with the defense, one of our defense clients, it's still us being your employer, right? And us having the understanding of where you're coming from and where you're going to. And it's almost, having that transition, we are your transition, right? So you're going on site, you're taking that job that, you're going day to day, you're just doing your job. That's all you really are doing. But you have us backing you up. You have issues, you go to Altimeter Solutions and say, hey, I'm working on this site with this company, and this is my direct supervisor on site, but I'm having this issue, or I need help with this, or, when it comes to pay and benefits and all these questions that someone coming out of the military will most likely have, because it's always been taken care of for them, right? Now they have someone else taking care of it for them as well.
So you've got support from the rear.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter where you're on site at. It doesn't matter if you're in the States, if you're a CONUS, doesn't matter if you're down the street, from us in Tampa. You have our support with your day-to-day job.
So, hey, Nate, I got a meeting at the client site next Tuesday. I don't really know what to do to prepare. So, gee whiz, I'm kind of analyzed with fear and paralyzed with fear, but we were taught not to ask and get it done. And so I don't know, and I'm just going to let the deadline pass.
Nope.
That's happened before, right? And then the client's calling us going, hey, man, where's your guy? He ghosted us. And it's not like the guy or the gal did anything intentional. It's just, well, I'm not prepared. So it's just better if I don't even go show up. When I've been told by countless number of hiring managers, man, just like what Nate is saying, just ask me.
Yeah.
I'm here to support you and make you look like a rock star so we get another contract or we get the contract renewed or whatever. Like, don't fear it on your own and don't worry about breaking it. Ask before you break it. Let's see if we can help you succeed without breaking anything, and you're good to go. Because that's another thing we're taught to do is don't ask for help. No, in this environment, ask for help. Do it right the first time, save time, make more money, be more cost effective. In the civ div, it's not about mission anymore. It's about save time, save money, make money. That's what it's about. And oftentimes time equates to money, right? In dollars somehow. So yeah, really cool. JB, what do you think over there, brother, at the production board? You're muted, brother.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing you guys were talking to about was on the resume stuff. It's telling a story. Right, you're telling somebody, or you're giving them a bit of a thread so that they can pull a little bit more. And then during an interview, hey, I want to get to know you. Right now we've gotten past the first hurdle. I'm interested. Tell me a little bit more about that story. How you were that platoon sergeant in Fallujah and leading a team of 30 down the streets and taking care of security or mobile communication side. I like how you keep bringing that up. We've got mobile tech stuff going there. So, what kind of specialties do you guys look for at Altimeter Solutions? Like what does the perfect vet rolling in look like?
Yeah. So from, let's say, a technical perspective, right? You're looking at people coming out. So I mentioned earlier, SkillBridge program has opened up the doors to us getting to work with veterans more because, and I was telling Eric earlier this morning, we have, depending on what unit they're with and what branch they're with, we have individuals who are starting their transition a year from the terminal, right? So, and we can't take someone in a company themselves can't take someone on while they're still in the military, right? And they can't say, okay, we're going to hire you on a year out. They're not going to save them a seat a year out. They're not going to save them a seat 6 months out, typically. Maybe 3 months, right? Maybe a couple months. But so that's one thing that we're seeing a lot of. And with the SkillBridge program, having the opportunity, between 3 and 6 months for them to come on board and start working is awesome. It's great. So it's allowing us to work with these veterans, soon to be veterans, right? People transitioning out so much sooner, getting them on site with our clients to where they can then transition to becoming a direct permanent employee of that company following the SkillBridge program. So I think that's one thing I think is really going to be impactful moving forward. And for us, when it comes to those individuals, we're looking at, a couple of things. One, if they're MOS and their background for the last 4 years, 8 years, 20 years is something that we technically place often, great. That makes our job so much easier, right? Because that's what we want to do. We want to make the best fit.
What are a couple general career flavors?
So so for instance, we see a lot of, we talked about communications a few times, right? We have everything from I don't say it's entry level, but it's hands-on technical communications, like a technician.
So field gear, test gear,
field test, field test
gear.
Yeah. So they're working, and what's great is many times they're working on stuff when they're with us, that same equipment they were working on when they're in the military. Because, right, these are government, DOD, large subcontractors that are manufacturing different products. Well, all that stuff is being used in the field, right? So they're very familiar. So when that happens, it's like, man, this is too easy. My job became easy, right?
So you almost got half of it down. You got the tech part down.
Yeah.
It's just coordinating with you, upper echelon, on like growing into and sounding like and walking like and acting like that professional in the civ div versus that technician in the uniform.
To gain that interest, because you got to remember, you are going against other people that want that same job. And some of these jobs, or some of these people have already been in the civilian sector. They've already interviewed at 20 different companies, worked at 5 companies. They've been there, done that, and know how to communicate on the civilian side a little more effectively. And it's just the timing of it, right? So getting each individual caught up to speed on that side of it marries well with their already knowledge and the technical background that they already have, right? So we can put them in front of the client, and it shouldn't be a hard task of getting them that job.
So comms, fulfilling SME roles, probably a lot of which is on projects, right? I mean, temporary unique endeavors for the clients.
Yeah, and we've seen everything. You know, it's great is that because we're getting to work with a lot of the large government subcontract companies, we don't just see the technical aspects or technical roles. We're also seeing stuff that are administrative. So you're getting people out of the I&I, and you're like, where do they fit into all of this mix? Well, they don't have to be an engineer. You know, if they went to school for engineering, great. We'll do that too. But that, you know, they might be able to get into these companies, but on like a headquarters perspective, right? The corporate side of things, you know, doing administrative, doing some, I mean, heck, they can go into recruiting and HR, you know, all these different avenues that have a more, we'll say paper, you know, paper pushing kind of focus and grow their career that way. And, you know, they might do it simultaneously while they're going to school because they want to maybe become a professional in that. That's where they want to grow their career. So there's so many different avenues that we can take a lot of different MOSs and apply them, both technical and non-technical.
And think about what Nate just said, gang. So, you know, when Jeremy and I have been at this long enough, and the Vets PM team have been at this long enough that when hiring managers like Nate talk, I hear Jeremy's question, specific MOSs. So just, I mean, watch this just for one thing. So think about all my E6s through, I don't know, 04s, 05s out there doing these roles right now. When he says, hey, HR, benefits, admin, yeoman stuff. Okay, so I just captured all my Navy yeomen. I just captured all my command career counselors or career field managers in DC or whatever, right? And all those associated MOSs. And oh, here's the thing too. Not that this ever happens in our military, but you probably don't even sometimes have that branch or MOS, but you did it at your last command as another duty is assigned or a collateral duty or whatever your unit called it. So, hey, guess what? Now you're going to be a recruiter. Wait, I'm not a recruiter, but you are now. You'd be back from school in 8 weeks, brother. You're a recruiter now. I mean, so, you know, all my recruiters out there. So you literally just covered, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of our brothers and sisters that covers, but right there's 3 or 4 big occupations that, hey, I'm a career field manager sitting there managing an accession pipeline in Washington, D.C. I mean, how do you translate that impact to a civilian company who doesn't even know what a career field manager is? But if you can talk about that in terms of HR, they'll instantly recognize you as an HR professional. We ain't talking entry level here either. You just got to learn to talk like the HR professional counterpart to you in the civ div. I mean, is that JB? You know, you knew those guys,
right? Yeah, I think you're hitting it spot on. Is it is hard to translate, but if you look at what the functions that company they're trying to achieve, what are you trying to get? Are trying to make sure that we have the right labor rate, the right. They talk about average labor rate, where you've got an expert, you've got a middle guy, and you've got some you know, lower level technicians. That gets your average labor rate to an affordable rate, where we think in a little bit different terms in the military. It's like, I want all my experts right on this. Well, you couldn't afford it if we were all we put all A-teamers on there when we're talking about paying the bill. So really interesting. Is there some, like, if I'm a veteran and I'm trying to recreate myself, say I was in motor pool or I was infantry, and I really want to, I want to dive in, what's some of the first steps you think that they should take? I know the skill bridge, that's going to help them out, because then they've got that 6 months to kind of dip their toe in the pool, get warmed up and talk. But is there anything on the guy that's looking a year out, right? Because you said it yourself, is you're seeing people wanting to transition essentially earlier. So what could they be doing in the meantime that would make themselves ready for Altimeter Solutions?
And start doing 6, 8, 10, 12 months out. Like, hey, man, I've already missed the skill bridge boat, but I'm out here and I'm a mediocre job. I'm looking for something else. Like, you know what I mean, Nate? What can you share with those two demographics? Different demographics, but man, those same 6, 8, 10 things, if they can get that down and start talking in those terms, I mean, there's the value and the impact right there.
Well, I know we mentioned networking, right? Okay, yep. And I think it's huge, and how you do it is very important.
Okay.
But gaining the knowledge of what jobs are out there. So even for myself, I think you and I both talked about this. We didn't know what was out there, right? Like all these different jobs. I didn't know a recruiter, as basic as it is, I didn't even know it was a real job, you know, like the staffing industry. I didn't know that was a thing, you know, until I met someone who was in it and I learned about it and stuff like that. So there's so many jobs that someone could take, so their MOS might not translate exactly, right? Oh, 3533 logistics vehicle system operator. What is that? Oh, it's a truck driver. Well, I don't want a truck driver. Well, then what else can you do? I don't know, right? All these other things. When someone has an MOS, how many times have they held a different billet? Multiple different billets, right? And like you're saying, you got all that experience that can support so many different jobs. So it's the knowledge of what jobs are out there to learn what you want to do. And I mean, come on, we proved it. You can get whatever job you want. You got to go towards that job though. And you got to know what path to take. And if there's education that's required, or is it more effort that's required? You need to put in some 70-hour work weeks, or you need to put in 40-hour work weeks, 30 hours of school. What is it, right? So having that knowledge of what's out there, figuring out a few different things that you're interested in, then communicating and networking with people that do those jobs. Go find those people. Go on LinkedIn, find someone that does it. And I'll tell you, there's so many times when I got started in this industry that I'm in, that I'm looking for, let's say, an FPGA design engineer. Have no clue what FPGA is, don't know what a design engineer needs, and heck, I don't know anything about engineering either. So I'm finding people with that title on LinkedIn, reaching out to them, and I'm just reaching out to a bunch and saying, connecting with them and saying, hey, I'm new to the industry. I'm trying to learn more about what you do. Not trying to sell you on anything. I need someone who can just give me 5-10 minutes of their time and learn from you. What is it that I'm looking for in somebody? And I will tell you, so many people were open to doing it, especially my fellow veterans, right? Hey, I'm a Marine vet, you're a Navy vet. I've got some questions. Can you just help me out? And so many of them are willing to do that. So that's like my step one go-to. Let's start there, learn about what's out there, and then figure out what I want to do. I have a couple ideas, and then look at those individuals and create that path. What path did they take to get there? What path do I need to take to get there? And that's totally, I think, the map that you would want to start with.
And you can acquire the knowledge of that career field, the language of that career field, certifications that might be applicable to that career field. And I think you did it a really great job of this, Nate. So, what's the MOS title? Logistics
Vehicle System Operator.
Impressive as hell, right? If you say that to a civilian, got no idea what that means. And then he colloquial says, to the welder sitting across the table, hey, bro, I was a truck driver. Okay, I got it. But think about this. So even though it was truck driving, he mentioned logistics. That's an entire 300, 400, 500 billet or job big career field in the outside. I mean, you could do 18 months in every different kind of role in logistics until you're retired a second time, and you'd never fill all the roles in logistics. So even there, you can start with, okay, truck driver. In what? Oh, a big cog and a big logistics thing or a big supply chain or anything. I'll tell you what, right now, man, people with expertise in supply chain, I bet there's all kinds of companies that will beat down your door and throw signing bonuses at you if you can help them unscrew their logistics chain. Because I don't know if you're paying attention to the news, but like the entire thing is kind of adrift in a big sea right now, right? Looking for any kind of pieces of driftwood they can grab onto. So what I'm saying is, and especially in an environment where it's all about the profit and loss statement, like how do I stop the expense hemorrhaging, and how do I get mission done and supplies delivered and get paid and get my invoices paid? And so, hey, I was a truck driver. Oh, now I'm logistics. Oh, this guy's a logistics supply chain officer at, I don't know, USAA, or this gal is a logistics quantitative analyst at PepsiCo. Like, I don't even know what that means. But like to Nate's point, hey, connect with them and say, hey, I was in the Marine Corps logistics system. How did you get into logistics? Where would you suggest I start to get into logistics? What are the top 3 things you think are the most awesome about logistics in the civ div, and the top 3 things that will eat my lunch? Just start asking them questions. They'd love to chat with you, especially if they're vets.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I think about, we talk about connecting with the veterans, and we look out for each other as much as we can. I like to think everyone does, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't matter. You reach out to 50 people, and you're going to get 10 people. All it takes is one, really, to get back to you and tell you, hey, here's the roadmap I took, and that gives you a start, right? Yep. One thing you mentioned is, you said something about the title, logistics vehicle system operator, and how it sounds so good. But at the same time, every branch has these MOSs, calls it something totally different, right? So that's something that you got to think about is, it's the same thing in the civilian world. Every company out there calls it something different. So when you start looking at these people that are doing this for work and you see their title and you're like, that's not the title that I had, well, it doesn't matter, right? That's where those bullets come in. We're talking about those bullets and being descriptive and painting the full picture, right? The titles, I tell everyone, I tell the recruiters, throw the titles out. They're synonymous. They're all, this person can call it one thing, this person can call it another. That doesn't matter. What did you do? Right?
That's right.
Let's break it down, Barney style here. What did you do in that job? Tell me that. And that's going to be what will carry you on. Right?
That's now I can figure out where in the puzzle you fit as a piece.
Yes, that's what the manager is looking for. They don't care what your title was, because unless they were in the Marine Corps and they were, heck, I can tell you more than half of the Marine Corps doesn't know what a logistics vehicle system operator is.
That's right.
Right. So unless they did my job in the Marine Corps, they had no clue what I did.
Yep.
And just because we were in the same job doesn't mean that we had held the same billets. One person was a platoon sergeant, the other one was maybe a squad leader. Like they didn't do the same job, right? One person went overseas and had more responsibility at a certain time, or different responsibilities, than someone that was still here at Camp Lejeune supporting the rear, right? They're all different. So that, I think, is probably going back to not just the resume, but just the communication and what you're providing to that potential hiring manager. It goes back to painting that picture of what you did. You're the one getting the job, not your team, right? Not your platoon. It's you. So you got to sell that person on you. Get over the weirdness of it. Get over, the things that you've been taught and what's been ingrained in you. It's now your turn.
Here's how I helped my organization move forward. Because at the end of the day, from a theoretical construct, they're all organizations.
Yeah.
They just operate in different industries. One is in defense, and one is in aerospace, and one is in logistics, and one is in cybersecurity. I mean, they've got bosses at the top, they've got midline supervisors, they've got technicians, they've got a board of directors, Congress. I mean, they're all organizations, which means they all got people problems, they all got finance problems, they all got operational challenges. They've all, how to solve problems and fix operational challenges and get stuff done in the field with, MacGyver style. So those same skills, those same capabilities are going to fit right into another organization. So it's FUBAR. You know what I mean? Like, they need help too. Just explain how you can help. Right?
Exactly.
JB, what do you think, man?
I love it. I really like how you simplify it to the point of, hey, know what you like yourself, right? Know what you enjoy doing, and then know what you are doing, and then apply that to that company and find that roadmap. You don't have to blaze the trail alone or new. Just recreate the success that someone else had. Pro tip, go find them on LinkedIn and have a conversation with them. I love that. What a great advice. It's so simple. Why wouldn't you do it? Right. So
yeah, here's what I did. Here's what I can do. Here's what I want to do for you.
That's right.
Oh, connect the dots. Now, Nate doesn't have to figure out whether you're the guy he's looking for, the gal he's looking for. He can say, hey, the picture that you just drew with those dots, I could use like 9 of those. You got any friends? You're the first one in the shoot. You know what I mean? You can't assume that Nate's a smart enough guy to connect all the dots. I mean, I've met him. Nate's a pretty smart guy, right? But you know what I mean? Like, the hiring manager on the side of the desk doesn't see the same pattern than the dots. It's like the old square of dots, right? Like, you see it, and the only way to connect them all with one line and not lifting the pin is to draw the umbrella thing that goes outside the dot. I mean, you got to draw the picture for the hiring manager.
Well, and think about it too. It's got to be, we gravitate towards easy and what's convenient. If I've got to decipher everything and find you as that piece of puzzle, you're probably not worth the effort. Like, I've got 7 of them that already deciphered it for me. I got 6 seconds to look at your resume and see if it's going to work. So give me 6 seconds worth of your story that I can fit the puzzle piece in, because other people are doing it, right? So, another tip, make sure it's readable in 6 seconds. That's one of those, another pro tip. Amazing.
Yep. So Nate, as we kind of close in on the end of this thing. So either as a veteran to a veteran or as a hiring manager to a future employee. And, and here's the thing. I mean, these challenges aren't unique to the veteran. We at Vets of PM, the only thing that is unique, we at Vets of PM believe is, unlike all of the other candidates they're hiring, one of you has raised your hand and said, I can be a loyal, courageous, honorable, get shit done person. That's what I can be. I've proven it. I would like to do that for you. Mm-hmm. And the hiring manager on the other side of the desk just heard, wait a minute. If I hire this person, that's at least, regardless of all the technical stuff, that's at least one of my people I don't have to babysit, which gives me bandwidth for the people I do have to babysit. Yeah. Okay, you're already in the short stack right there, right? So as a veteran to a vet, or a hiring manager to an employee, or a veteran-friendly company looking for veterans to hire. So a couple different veins, or insert your fourth one here. What are some high-level things that you think could help anybody, regardless of, rank or branch or MOS or whatever, like just the transition space between, hey, Marine Corps, soldier, sailor, airman, Marine to civilian?
Well, you mentioned it multiple times, the words of it, but I think we need to emphasize on it is value. But you can't just say, here's my value, it's not just quantitative. It's not just, hey, this is how much money I made in the military. It's my value. No. It's what are you bringing to the table to them? What is your value going to be to them? So you need to know what that value is and how you're going to display that, right? You have to come up with a value statement, right? And so pretty much knowing your worth, knowing to them what is going to be something they're going to buy from you, right? How are you going to sell yourself to that person? They're the one buying you. What are their needs? What are their wants? And then you being able to translate those things that we were talking about that make it selling points instead, right? Here's how I'm selling myself to you. This is what I have to offer you. And you can't say no because you already told me everything you want.
That's right.
Right. So what I always love to do is if I'm going in front of, let's say it's an interview, right, or communicating with the hiring manager,
or coming to a client site, you're up here in Melbourne with me, having a bit of a chat, some coffee and stuff at the MTA, and he's up from Tampa.
Oh, Tampa, yeah, which is right over from the central side. So let's say even I'm meeting with the hiring manager. I sit down and I say, Eric, I know that you say that you need someone in this position. What are the 5 things that you need that person to have? And then what are the 5 things that you want them to have on top of that?
So you're literally making me give you the answers to the test that I want to hear, so that when you supply the answers in terms of how you're going to fit that bill,
yeah,
like how can I say no? That's what you said. It's solution selling, right?
It can't be more simple. And it really is that simple. And so I do it when I go meet with the manager. So that way all the recruiters know who they're looking for. They're doing it with those individuals to make sure that they're making the right fit. And then when we prep people to go interview with the managers, I tell them to do the same exact thing. It doesn't hurt. It could be a panel interview and there's 4 different people on this interview. Each one of them are in a different position within this team. So looking for something different. So you ask that same question to each individual person, they might have different answers. What the hiring manager says versus the program manager versus maybe some technical engineer on the team, they might be looking for someone that they can bounce ideas off of when they're trying to do some development of some product, right? Program manager, what do they care about? Time, budget, all that kind of stuff, right? That's their perspective. And the hiring manager might be more, like you mentioned, they might be looking for someone that they know they can trust and they can be hands off with and don't have to babysit, right? So I would ask that same question to each one of them. But yeah, so it's like, what are these 5 things? And then when you tell me, I know now I can go in my bag of tricks, right? Even though my job was truck driver, right? But I've got this knowledge doing X, Y, Z. And when that hiring manager says, I'm looking for someone that I can trust, that I don't have to babysit, hands-on, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to talk about being in Iraq as, a 19-year-old and leading a convoy of 20 other Marines, right? With these trucks and these tanks valued at millions of dollars, that you can trust me. If they can trust me with all of that, you can trust me to come to work on time, and then they're going to bring up something technical. And it's like, yeah, I've got that experience too, and it's now letting you have the opportunity to sell them on your experience that directly relates to what they said they're looking for. You're not wasting the 30 minutes talking about stuff that they don't really care about, right?
You know, we've been doing this, Jeremy and I have been doing this for 6-7 years now, dude, and we have never heard a hiring manager put it that succinctly. I mean, it's almost like, you gave me goosebumps, dude. It's almost like that accomplished magician who's going to set up a trick where in front of hundreds of people I don't know, I'm going to fan out 52 cards. I'm going to let Jeremy select the card of your choice. Jeremy, I don't know what it is. It's a brand new deck. I just opened it. Brother, I know exactly what card Jeremy's going to select because I'm going to set it up mechanically so that when he selects the ace of hearts, the top of the things he's going to love, I know he's going to select the ace of hearts, right? So it looks to the hiring manager and to the hiring panel, it looks like a magic trick happening. But you're using information from the deck and from the crowd and from them about what they need. And you did a little company research and you've networked with a couple folks internally. So you're talking like them. I mean, like it's almost like they can't, you said it. How am I going to say you're not the cat I'm looking for?
And you know what? At the end of that, it's so much fun to me, right? Like this is like fun stuff. And when people get it and they see it work, they're like, Nate, that was the best idea ever, right? And it's so, because it is totally different from back in the day, how people would interview, right? It was like there was interview questions and this person would do their best to answer those questions. No, now it's like, hey, you got to come in, you initialize what is needed. You be the first one to speak. Hey, it's great meeting you. Yeah, Altimeter Solutions, they told me a lot about this position. They told me a little bit about you, but I really want to know what you are looking for, right? Don't give them the chance. Don't give the hiring manager the chance to start questioning you. You say, I want to ask you a couple questions to start. What is it that you're looking for, right? What are some like 5 must-haves and what are like 5 nice-to-haves that you're looking for on top of that? Then you go ahead and answer those. Now, already you've taken up probably the majority of the interview time, right? And usually at the end, a manager will say, hey, do you have any questions and stuff? Even before they ask that. But if they do ask that, you can still ask this question. And you got to word it this way too. Is there anything from our conversation that makes me not a fit?
Ooh.
Just does a couple things, right?
Nice.
I'd say the majority of the time that manager is going to answer and they're going to be honest. And they're going to say, yeah, I did not hear you talk about this. Well, you know what? Things get missed in a conversation, right? It just happens. So, but you might have that experience. This is like your second chance at life.
Amen,
right? So it's like, what is it that, you know, from our conversation that makes me not a fit? They might just come back and be like, no, you're exactly what I'm looking for.
Bang, sold.
Perfect. Or they might say, hey, I didn't hear you talk about this much, or you barely mentioned this. So it doesn't sound like you got a lot of background in XYZ. And you're like, actually, that's all I've been doing in my last 2 years is working with XYZ. Let me tell you a little bit about it. You give them, shoot them 5 more minutes. No more questions to be asked. Now you've just taken their one thing that kind of the hesitation of bringing you on. They loved you, but they had this hesitation, thought maybe someone else could be a better fit and have it all. You said, no, you said, this is why you're not hiring me? Well, I've got that. So now you got no reason to tell me no. You got no reason not to hire me now.
And at the end of the day, it's 2 humans trying to figure out if I can work with you or not work with you, right? So
Yeah.
I need the logos and the pathos. I need the logic to justify the way I felt about hiring you. Because I'm
Yeah.
going to make that decision based on my gut, based on my instinct, right? So I love what you just did there. You literally are saying to them when you ask them the questions, you're the interviewer, they just don't know it, but they'll sense it. They see leadership, they see initiative, they see responsibility, they see someone seeking accountability for results and impact. I mean, all of these things that you're communicating you have to them just by taking the initiative. You know, and you'll know the environment, right? Like if you feel like you're stepping on them, or you feel like they're affronted because you took the initiative or whatever, like just throttle back a wee bit. But at least, like you said, you're now, and the intangible too. I think just listening to you talk, you must feel so much more confident and competent to be in that interview when you know you're asking them for the information that you're going to regurgitate in the context of your experience. That's going to be exactly what they're going to look for. And then if you don't nail it all, you're going to give them an opportunity to tell you what you didn't nail, and you're going to give them that too. You're going to hand them the icing they're going to put on the cake and hire you.
Exactly. Talking about that roadmap, you just created it.
Yeah.
We got that. We got all that recorded, right, dude? That's
Right.
freaking magic over here, JV.
That was great. That was great.
Put my name on that and plaster it everywhere, right?
That's right.
Trademark
That's right.
that stuff.
Trademark.
Interview according to Nate. You got to write a book, bro.
Yeah.
That was too good.
So, JB, what else do we got, dude?
I think I mean, I couldn't ask. I know this wasn't intentionally going to be, hey, how to interview, but I don't think I could have gotten better advice or a fresh perspective on an interview process other than flipping the script. And I've heard people say it before, but the way you did it was masterful, where you're, hey, show me your pain points so I can fix those pain points. We're in this room for a reason. You have a need. I'm going to find that need and I'll be that need. I'll be your solution. And then give me the 5 nice things that, hey, what's that thing? You don't like snacking this, stucking up the snack bar? I'll take that on. I used to do that. That was like one of my extra duties. So, well, just really cool, really cool. I really enjoyed talking with you, Nate. I thank you for your time. I really thank you for your service and then what you're doing and giving back to other veterans.
Nope, I appreciate it. Love y'all having me here anytime.
Yeah.
I'm coming out here all the time. So anytime y'all want to have me on, I'd love to join y'all again.
And I would just say, as he closes out, he's like most vets, man, he's a humble dude. But, in terms of corporate America, and that's what we do over here, is help veterans land meaningful, lucrative post-service careers. So what Nate didn't tell you is that from a corporate perspective, he's the guy that's responsible for growing a up-and-coming startup company's entire government portfolio. So they got a civilian portfolio, a commercial portfolio, and they got a government portfolio. And during COVID, over the past 6 years, Nate has got that thing going on a 50-degree up angle. I mean, so when the dude is telling you how to get hired with Altimeter so that he can coach you to go get hired with these company sites, and I don't know if I can mention this or not. So Nate kicked me under the table, and JV, you'll have to edit out names like L3 Harris and Lockheed Martin. And like when people say, oh, I'm getting out of uniform, I'm going to work in defense. I mean, you're probably going to interview at some of these places, right? In Marsat, et cetera. I mean, gang, he's got chops. When Nate says, hey, bro, here's what I need to hear, or here's what you should ask, or here's why you should ask it, or hey, here's the context. I mean, that's what the dude does for a living, and he's good at it. He is a door kicker with it. So I would listen to Nate, and hey, man, I don't know if this is conventional with podcasts and stuff, but stop it, rewind it, listen to Nate again. I mean, so anyway, that's what I would say, Nate. I really appreciate you and your colleagues coming up here and everything that you do with us. That's the PM. I'm honored and humbled, man.
Nope, I appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.
Love it.
Right on.
Thanks,
right
man.
on.
Thanks, JB.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you for tuning in and spending a bit of time with us at the Military Transition Academy, powered by Vets to PM. If we piqued your interest, but you want more details, please head over to the website vetstopm.com and see if we can help prepare you for a better tomorrow or a future meaningful and lucrative career.